Hey YouTube, Steph here. Um, so last week was my 1 year on testosterone, and very, just so thankful, and I really can't even believe that I'm here. So, just so thankful for it, and I feel really great. I was trying to think of what to even talk about in this video. Got back from the Philadelphia Trans Wellness Conference a few days ago, and knew that I wanted to make a video here, but the physical changes with, over the past month, there's sort of two things. One, hair, as you probably know, and the second thing is really my voice just feels so much more settled in general. I played a show in Boston last week as well before the conference, and yeah, things are just feeling really great with the voice. But so, when I was thinking about what to talk about here, there's one sort of thing that comes to mind. Probably my biggest takeaway from the conference was some discussions that I had with trans women actually about their experience going from a system run on testosterone to a system run on estrogen, and the experiences that they changed from the mental standpoint, and then comparing that to my own experience and to my other trans guy friends who we sort of had some really nice, sit down, philosophizing time. So this is sort of the gist that I got from those conversations. So the trans woman on estrogen experience seems that, their mind seemed to have this, these broader, many more sort of neural pathways open up. They had a greater access to emotions, more complex emotions than before, and it was easier to make connections between those different things. So, on the flip side, the trans guy experience, and my experience as well, was sort of a narrowing of those things, not really feeling so many complex things. However, the connections that I am making are stronger. So the way that sort of has played out in my own life is just a greater sense of decision making, and a clearer understanding of my own emotions. But regardless of both the trans masculine and the trans feminine sort of experiences with being on hormone replacement therapy, one commonality is that all of us sort of describe this sense of profound clarity, an unveiling, a defogging of sort of our minds. And I think that's so interesting that it's literally the opposite thing is happening to our brains, and yet we experience it as a sense of clarity. And I don't know if this is the case for all trans people. I mean, I'm sure not, since all of our experiences are so different. However, I did find it fascinating the way that we all were describing this. And it made me think about my own situation, because in general, I would actually describe my sexuality and my gender as being fluid. In other words, it doesn't necessarily stay the same all the time. And I think prior to transitioning, prior to starting testosterone, the way that my sexuality was fluid was it seemed like a mystery to me. I never knew exactly where I was or what I was attracted to or anything like that. It seemed like I couldn't quite sparse out those feelings. I didn't really know. I didn't have access to them, really. So it was a little bit more mysterious. And meanwhile, I think that I actually had a clearer idea of what my gender was at any given time. I knew when I felt more masculine, and I knew when I felt more feminine. And those two sort of like relationships to sexuality and gender have sort of flip-flopped on themselves. Now I have a much clearer understanding of what I'm attracted to and when, and really can see quite clearly that very rarely is everything at the same time. More often than not, I'm attracted to femininity purely, or masculinity purely. Although I will say that androgyny is really kind of always nice. It always feels good, and I feel attraction there. And likewise, my perception of my gender is a little bit harder to follow now. And it's hard to say why. Part of me, while I was just saying this, was thinking, I wonder if that's less of a mental change and more of when you're, sort of, I feeling more pressure to be male, feeling more pressure to express male being on testosterone. But I don't know. I mean, it very well could just be that the way that my mind has sort of, my mental changes have sort of happened, that, yeah, this is going to be a little bit harder to access now. And quite frankly, I don't really care. Like, I feel so good just doing my own thing, and I think that so much of gender is so personal anyway, that because gender isn't necessarily always going to follow gender expression, so it almost feels like it doesn't quite matter. And maybe my feelings about that will shift over time, but for now this is where I am. And yeah, so 1 year on testosterone, and very psyched about that, and just so thankful for the conference, and if y'all were there, I hope you had a great time. But anyway, I will see you next time.